All right, students, 5.3, the percent proportion algebra. Sorry, I just need to make my screen a little brighter there. All right, how do I solve a percent problem with a proportion? A few things we have to remember. Remember that proportions are showing that two ratios are equivalent. What's a ratio? Fancy word for fraction. And what's equivalent? Equal to. So I want to show that two fractions are equal to each other or the same as each other. Percent proportion just means that one of the fractions that we're solving for is a percent over 100. We've talked about that in the last few sections, that percent over 100 is the best percent, or whatever percent I get should be over 100. And so now we're using the part over the whole here. So we need to find the percent of the following problem. So 22 is what percent of 110? Few things we need to look at here. First thing that we need to look at and pay attention to is that this is what we're solving for. What percent? Do you know what percent it is? No, you don't. So I know that in my formula here, we're going to call this a formula, that I don't know this percent. So I'm going to say x percent over 100. This is important because it leads me into where else I have to plug in values. If I don't know my percent and that's my variable and I put it over 100, well, now what I'm left with are these two numbers. I'm left with 22 and I'm left with 110. And I need to figure out which one of that is part of the number and which one of that is the whole number. Some other people might say that this is over of. They might teach it that way. So my of 110 is my whole. That's the whole number that goes on the bottom. Is 22 is, that's my part that goes up on top. Now, if it's something that we can just go straight across like this to solve, go ahead and do that. This problem, maybe some of you could figure it out, but for the most part, we're really just going to have to do our cross multiplication here. So I'm going to take 110 times x, and I'm going to say 110x, and I'm going to go this way to say 22 times 100 for 2200. I multiplied those two together. The equal sign is in between. Now I'm just going to set them closer together, and all I have here is a railroad track problem. So again, I did my cross multiplication, squeeze them a little bit closer together, and now I have a railroad track problem. What am I solving for? X. What's bothering it? 110. How? By multiplication. Inverse, divide. Divide by 110 on this side, and divide by 110 on that side. Those are going to cancel out. X equals, hopefully you're able to see that. You might not be able to know, but the answer there is 20. If you're not sure, go ahead, take a calculator. 2200 divided by 110 is, there you go. Okay? So my answer here is 20. Now, you have to remember, what were you solving for? So go back to this original statement here that said what percent. So yes, we got 20 as an answer, but that 20 is a percentage. And what does this percentage mean? So then we have to go back to our problem here. 22 over 110. 22 is 20% of 110. All right, let's try another problem. 17 is what percent of 68? Again, what's the percent that we're trying to find? We have to do percent over 100, and we have to do, our part is 17, and the whole number is 68. 17 is part of my whole number. I set them equal to each other. I don't know the percent, that's what I'm trying to find. No simple way about it. Do your cross multiplication. This would be 68x. This would be 1700 and an equal sign. 1700 equals 68x. I'm going to draw my railroad tracks, and I'm going to then do my steps. Divide both sides by 68. X equals, and I'll admit I have no idea what that is. Well, I thought my calculator would come out faster. There it is. 1700 divided by 68 equals 25. Again, what did I solve for? A percent. So this is 25%. 17 is 25% of 68, which means, actually, it's kind of interesting, that if I was to take 17 over 68 and reduce it, I would get 1/4. Just, that's an interesting fact. All right. I'm going to let you work through that one on your own, and I'm going to continue on to some other problems here. Same with that one. Oh, that's a repeat. We don't want that one. Anyway. All right. Here, find the part. So again, I'm going to continue to work with this equation. Part over whole equals percent over 100. So the last time we were finding the percent. This time, let's read our problem. What number is 80% of 50? This time I want to find out what number. I know 80%, so right away I know what goes right here. So I'm going to fill that in. 80% over 100. So 80 goes over 100. Now I have what number? What number are they talking about? I don't know, so I have to use a variable. 500. So before, again, some people use is over of, or some people can just tell what's the part and what's the whole. They can tell that 500 is going to be the whole amount and that the part is going to be x. Now these two are equal. Now this one, some people might be able to say, hey, to go from here to here, I divide by 5 or multiply by 5. So from here to here, I'm going to multiply by 5. So let's just try that. 5 times 8 is 40. 400. I think it might be 400, but let's do it cross multiplication to find out. This times this is 100x. This times this equals 40,000. 40,000. Divide both sides by 100. This leaves me with x equals 400. Does that make sense? Well, let's write that over here. 400 over 500. And let's divide by 10, and that basically allows us to cancel out these zeros. And that leaves me with 40 over 50. And if I wanted to make that 100, I would multiply it by 2. 80 over 100, yeah, it's the same. So yeah, that does make sense. Sometimes you just have to double check using something else that you might know. Sorry about that scratch there. All right, so what is 35% of 48? What is 35% of 48? What number? So I know 35%, so I'm going to put that over 100. 35% over 100, I already know that. What number is? I'm trying to find a number over 48. Trying to find some number over 48. This one isn't as easy. I cannot just say 48 times 2 to get to 100. I have to do the cross multiplying here. 100x, cross multiply here. I'm not going to pretend to know that off the top of my head. So 48 times 35 is 1680. 1,680. Sorry, I should probably just erase that. And 80. And then we are going to solve for x by dividing both sides by 100. Again, ask yourself those questions. What am I solving for? What's bothering it? How? What's the inverse? Those go away. Turn into 1 technically, remember, but we're just going to cancel them off right now. And what is this divided by 100? Well, you might have to think about it for a minute. You might have to actually divide it out. Or you can remember from the last lesson when we were turning percents into decimals, all we did is move the decimal back twice, and that's technically what we would do here as well. So it would be 16.8 because we would move it back twice. Otherwise, you could divide that in. All right. Here we go. Now, this is a little bit different, and this time we have to actually find the percent. So I want to find 12% of 88. Excuse me. So here I know 12%, 0.5 over 100. Notice how it's written a little bit differently. Of 88, I know 88 is still my whole number, and I want to solve for x. So again, what am I going to do in this case? I'm going to cross multiply. Go ahead and hit pause and solve that. Answer should have been x is 11. All right. Sorry, I'm trying to overcome a cold here. Last one you have here is to find the whole number. Again, percent over 100, part over whole. They are two equivalent ratios. Two equivalent ratios. 14.4 is 32% of what number? Okay, what do I have here? What number? I don't know. X. It's going to be a variable. 32%. Pretty easy. I'm going to put it in the percent spot. So 32% over 100. 14.4 is, I know that this is something. I know 14.4 is part of some bigger number, but I do not know what that bigger number is. Again, in this case, just cross multiply. When I multiply these together, I'm going to get 1, 4, 4, 0, and I'm going to receive this other way, 32x. I'll divide the two. 1440 divided by 32 is 45. So I would find out that 45 equals x. $23.4 is 30% of what number? I'm just going to set it up for you. I'm not going to solve it. But that would be my part over what I don't know I'm trying to find. 30% over 100. All right, go ahead and solve that. Same thing here. 19 is this percent of what number? 19 would be my part. The whole number I do not know. 62.5 over 100. Cross multiply. I truly apologize for the cough. I'm running short on time here. I have 2 minutes left, so let's see if I can do some of these. Percent greater than 100. Again, same thing over and over again. Part over whole equals percent over 100. 6 is what percent of 5? I don't know what the percent is in this case, so I'm going to have an x over 100. But in this case, 6 is the part. 5 is the whole. I know that seems a little odd right now, but that's the point, that this is greater than 100. So then if I cross multiplied these, this would be 600 equals 5x. 600 equals 5x. Divide both sides by 5. 600 divided by 5 equals 120 equals x. Well, remember what x stands for. X is a percent. So this is 120%. Well, should the percent be more than 100? Sure, because 6 is more than 5. 12 is what percent of 6? So in this case, 12 is over 6. What percent? I don't know, over 100. I want you to make a guess right here. If 6 and 12, you know a relationship there. 6x, 1200. What do you think? Isn't that double over here? So what do you think the percent is going to do? So I'm going to divide both sides by 6, and x equals 200%. It took the whole, 6 whole. 6 over 6 would be 1 whole, or 100%. So if I do that twice, I'd get 200%. Alright, I might have to break this into 2 videos, because I am running out of time. So come back for the second part of 5.3.